Hey, Catherine.
Yes, sir.
My name's Ben. I'm with Priority Rental, and we're in the Philadelphia area. I just wanted to introduce myself.
Okay, and I have my manager, Robert, here with us as well.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Where are you guys located?
We're in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Okay. What type of business are you running? What type of rental?
We have roll-off containers and portable toilets.
Okay. Good business?
Great business.
All right. We're doing portable air conditioning units, mostly spot coolers, and temporary heating, mostly construction.
Okay.
The roll-off containers you do, are they dumpsters?
Yes, sir. Yeah. They're like 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Is this the correct class?
Yep. We are going to go ahead and get started. I think Ben was just introducing himself and kind of meeting all the new people here as well. All of us, at least all of you, should be, I think, in the rental industry, and that's what this class is for. We're going to look at setting up rental inventory, how to enter a rental transaction. We'll take a look at the different ways to bill in the software, and then a different way you can create some of the printouts, whether it be through a task to manage a delivery, adding a unit onto a route for delivery or weekly service. I think most of you here are in a little different industry, so I'm going to try to keep it as general as possible so it'll apply to everyone, but if you do have a specific question, feel free to stop and ask me, and that way I can hopefully answer the best I can. Otherwise, we'll probably have about 10 minutes or so at the end. We can open it up to any open questions. So the first thing we need to do in the service program, once we have our items in QuickBooks set up, is we actually need to create our rental inventory. Now, the main reason of creating a rental inventory in the service program is to attach unit numbers, serial numbers, based off a couple QuickBooks items. And if you've watched any of the other training classes or seen anything else, we always recommend you create a couple items in QuickBooks to manage the different types of equipment that you're renting out. So, for instance, Catherine, if you have 3 or 4 different types of portable toilets, one with a hand washing station, a handicap, or a regular unit, you would have those possibly 3 items in QuickBooks. And then in the service program, you would break out into the different unit numbers.
Okay.
And I think we've already talked about that. But to access your rental inventory in the service program, we go to Rental Info, Rental Inventory List.
I'm not seeing anything on my computer screen. Oh.
Oh, let's see here.
I don't have anything on my screen either other than the Microsoft logo. There we go.
There we go.
There it is. I swear I've done this before. All right.
Okay.
So again, I went to Rental Info, Rental Inventory List. And here's where I set up the physical equipment I have to rent out. Now, if you don't track serial numbers and don't plan to, this is not necessary. You can just work off a QuickBooks item list. You really only have to set this up if you plan to track serial numbers. And this is the only way to be able to tell how much inventory you have in stock. So if you're looking to track, what you have available at any given time, you're going to need to use serial numbers from the screen, or at least create your own.
Right. Don't you need to set this up in the QuickBooks, though, and then you can set up your rental item list?
Yeah, that's what I said at the very beginning, is you'd have to create those couple items in QuickBooks first to be able to use an item here to give it a serial number.
Right, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So for instance, to set up an item on this screen, the database I'm using is set up for portable toilet rental, but it still applies to anyone setting up any type of equipment. I would pick the item from QuickBooks. I would then give it a serial number. And then I would set up my daily, weekly, and monthly charges. And again, these charges are a generic kind of a default charge. You can always override it per transaction or per customer. If I put in the daily charge and I want the software to automatically calculate a weekly and monthly rate based on that daily amount of 15, I can hit yes here. Otherwise, I could hit no and I could put in my own values. Now, when setting up your physical inventory, it's important that you only select an item, give it a serial number, and fill out your daily, weekly, and monthly charges. We would leave the location and the rented to and delivery date blank when setting up the inventory. Those fields are filled in once you actually enter a rental transaction, selecting a customer and picking the items in the serial number, which we'll walk through in a moment. If you want to track any other information about a particular piece of equipment you've added to this list, all you do is double-click the serial number. Here's where I can put in, let's say, a manufacturer serial number, the manufacturer itself, purchase price, date purchase, the vendor maybe you purchased it from. And again, you have numerous custom fields that you can set up just by clicking in the white space and typing whatever label you need. Now, with the latest update of our software, which there is instructions on our online help of how to get to the latest version, we do have a couple added features that's new to the rental side of the software I'd like to spotlight. One is barcoding. We've recently added barcoding within the last 2 months to the program to allow you to easily do any type of rental, whether you're scanning the physical equipment itself or you're scanning from a barcode list or a barcode book. To set up barcodes, you could hit View Barcodes. You're going to see the serialized barcode number for each of your units. So whatever you type in the serial number field automatically becomes a scannable barcode. Now, what's nice is you could put in all these serial numbers, and you can then hit Print Barcode List, which is going to print a simple report of each item, the serial number, and then a barcode that you can actually scan with to enter in rental transactions. You go into Rental Repair List. Once we do a task or two tied to a rental, we'll actually come back here and see this. This will actually show you any repairs made on any in-house equipment or rentals. So is everyone comfortable so far with setting up the rental inventory? I believe it's pretty straightforward, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to...
Yes, I mean, we're good.
Okay. So once our rental inventory is set up, the first thing we need to do, or to actually use that inventory, is create a rental transaction. So to enter a rental, we go to Rental Info, enter a new rental. So here's where I can select Customer. Now, if you're doing business with construction companies or maybe a customer that has multiple service addresses, the way we recommend to do that is through a customer parent or a billing parent in QuickBooks and then multiple jobs or job sites. That is why we have a Select Parent screen on most of the software. So for instance, I could select a parent company, and then I would only see jobs relating to that parent company. I then can pick the item I'm renting out. And when I go to select the serial number, it only shows me the units that are available. Now, right now it's showing me the monthly rate. This is based on the billing increment of monthly. And I told the unit to be prorated. This way, if I were to run a batch monthly billing every 28 days, 30 or 31, whatever your billing cycle is for your company, it's going to prorate this accordingly from its delivery date to the ending date of your billing cycle. We'll get into billing here in, towards the end of the class. We'll actually run a billing, and you'll see how these charges are calculated. An important date to look at here is the billed through date. By default, this date should be the same as your delivery date. This is the date that you want our software to start billing this unit. If you're just starting with our software and you're entering in your previous transaction, something that's already currently on rent out in the field, the billed through date needs to be adjusted to what this customer has already been invoiced until. So basically what they've already been billed through. So maybe if I just ran billing on 8/1 in another program or manually in QuickBooks, however the case may be, I could set the billed through date to 8/31. Now our software is going to pick up the billing after the 31st. Until then, no billing would be generated. This also is how you can accommodate if you actually need to send the customer an invoice at the time of rental. So if I pre-bill my customers as soon as they rent something out, as soon as I enter this rental transaction, I could hit Post to QuickBooks. That's going to create me an invoice right away in QuickBooks that I could print and send out to the customer. But then I would set the billed through date to, let's say, the end of the month, letting our software know that, hey, they've already been invoiced till the 31st. If you just want this rental to be picked up when you run a end-of-month billing, that's when you leave the billed through date the same as the delivery date, or on any new transaction. Now, on this rental transaction is where we'd also put any other items we need to keep track of or that we need to charge for this rental. So if we charge for a delivery, I could pick my delivery item. Maybe I have a $15 delivery charge, and I'm going to tell the software to run once. And this is just the flat rate. Run once is great for all service charges because they're only included on the first billing. After that, the date run is automatically filled in from when it was invoiced, and it is not included on any future billing. Like I said, if there's any other service charges, and Catherine, I know this applies to you, you'll probably have a weekly service charge for your portable toilets, or maybe a monthly service charge.
Right, or like a special pump or whatnot.
A holding tank rental, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Now what I can add on here, let's say, is a service charge. This is maybe for a weekly service. Again, this is going to be maybe run once, and maybe I want it charge the customer $25 a week and quantity of 4 weeks in a given month.
Okay.
That's one way to do it. The other way is to tell this to prorate, and we could just do a flat $100 for the month. If this item is returned early, this $100 is going to be prorated to a smaller amount based on when they returned it.
Okay.
If I need to keep track of any transaction notes, any special notes about this rental, I have a box down here. Delivery and pickup notes here show up if you print a delivery or pickup ticket from the drop-down up top. So if I needed to print a delivery ticket for a driver, I could put in delivery notes, maybe directions. I could then pick a driver and select. If I go and print the delivery ticket, here's the delivery ticket our software prints out. You see the directions to the customer. You see the transaction notes. You see the delivery date is 8/8, driver, Route 1 or R1. And it has a spot for a customer signature at the bottom. Same with the pickup ticket. If I need to print a pickup ticket, I could put in pickup notes, a driver, and a date, and print that. If I need to maybe print a quote right away for this customer, I could hit print. Same with an invoice. If I wanted to maybe send the driver with an invoice to collect, I could print an invoice right from the same screen. So it's kind of important to remember that everything you need to do with a rental is pretty much done from the rental transaction. At least that's where it starts. Now, if you do any routing or you run routes and you need to put this on a route for, let's say, a delivery, a pickup, a service, that is what that spot in the top right is that says Select Route. This allows us to quickly and easily put something on the route on the fly right from this rental transaction. And I don't know...
Michael, quick
yes,
question. The print option, when you go select invoice, does that give you the option of emailing it as well?
If you have, I believe you guys do have the full version of Microsoft Office. Let's see here.
Yes.
Or Microsoft Access.
Yeah.
So if I go to invoice and print, in print preview, you have the option up here to email.
Okay.
Ask me how I want to attach it as a PDF.
Okay, great.
And I don't have, it does require Microsoft Outlook.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the, if I do a pickup, does it automatically stop the rental charging then?
Now, not necessarily, no. The rental does not get stopped until a date return is entered. So you can set up a pickup, and this will still be billed until it's actually physically marked as returned.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So if I needed to add this onto a route, let's say for delivery, this is one way to do it. I can pick a route driver, maybe Route 1. I then can pick a frequency of delivery. Then I could pick a delivery date. Then I could hit put on route. This right here is now automatically on my route schedule for delivery. So if I go to my route schedule, I will see the one line at the bottom, delivery for Thursday. Now, right from the rental transaction, if you're, again, for Catherine, this is another example. If you do service for this, you could then set this up for, let's say, a weekly service. Maybe it's the second driver, and the weekly service is going to start on whatever date that is.
Right.
Put on route. If you're doing roll-offs, you could also do the same thing. Put on route, select a frequency for a swap or exchange. You can do that multiple times from this drop-down, and it all gets automatically added onto the route schedule.
Is one of the options on the select frequency is swap? Is that one of the options?
The frequencies you set up.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
These are user definable. So when you're on your route schedule and you double click in the frequency field, this is what I have set up. So you could set up a frequency called swap that doesn't reoccur via one-time service.
Pretty much same thing as a one-time, but we can user define.
Correct. And you would want like deliveries and pickup, any of those one-time services that don't reoccur, to be checked off delete after posting the route. That way, once you've marked the schedule as being complete, those entries are then removed off the route.
Okay.
Now, the other way to manage pickups, deliveries, exchanges is to use our task system. And it really is up to you on what makes more sense. If you're not running true routes, tasks maybe are a better way to go to get a quick work order to give to the driver to do a delivery or a pickup. And to do that, again, it's right off the rental transaction. We have the drop down for a task. We can do a delivery task, a pickup task, an exchange, or a follow-up.
Now,
maybe I could do delivery task and create task. Oh, I don't have something in it, right?
when I was looking at task earlier, I understand it had a task and everything fill out, but there was no way to put charges associated with that, right?
No, task can't have a dollar amount tied to them.
They can or cannot?
They can.
Okay.
If we look at a task, and you go to line items at the top, you can have items onto the task.
Oh, okay, okay.
Then if we had, let's say, if you wanted to bill for the delivery separately, you could have your delivery charge on the task. When the task is complete, you can hit invoice it. That'll go to the open invoice in our software in the queue to send to QuickBooks. Otherwise, if you're just using this as a work order to have the technician to track it, you can hit post to notes when it's complete as a non-billable entry. So no invoice would be created. It just goes into the customer's history when it's completed. But you can do either or.
I don't mean to jump ahead too much, but while I'm thinking about it, when you do, if you did a task that had a price associated with it, and it went to open invoices, and then the next day you did another one for the same customer, and it would still go to open invoices, would they all be on the same invoice when you posted?
If you did it a certain way.
Okay.
And that would be...
I mean, if you're getting to that, that's fine, but I just want to make sure we cover that.
I don't necessarily cover that in this class, but just to answer your question quickly, if I had a bunch of open invoices for the same customer, if I go to miscellaneous and post all invoices for a specific day,
Okay.
I could pick the date or a date range, and right here I have an option to combine customer invoices to one invoice. If I hit post, anything on the 8th, or if I did anything like over a week's worth of work for a customer,
Okay.
if they had more than one invoice, it would all go to one invoice into QuickBooks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, once we've entered a rental transaction, to find that transaction again, we click Items Rented. So here is everything out currently on rent. I would just double-click the invoice number, open up that transaction. And now another popular thing I see a lot are billing groups. If I double-click in billing groups, it allows me to create a group of a way to kind of batch my customers together. Maybe I have some customers I bill on the 1st, some might bill on the 15th. I could put those into specific billing groups and only bill those clients at the desired times. Maybe you do a mixture of billings where you maybe bill commercial accounts on a 28-day billing cycle, but you bill residential on a calendar month every 30 or 31 days. So you could create those different billing groups. Now, if you, what I also see a lot of is, depending on, let me open up another transaction here. We've added a new feature to accommodate, let's say you don't want to track serial numbers as far as if you had 10 pieces of equipment out in the field, you would have to have 10 lines here, one for each piece of equipment, each one with a serial number. It gets to be a little laborious as far as data entry goes. So if I had, let's say, 10 portable toilets out in the field or 10 pieces of equipment, I could do quantity 10. And I would not select the serial number. I could simply go up and hit assign serial numbers. This would allow me to assign the different serial numbers to this transaction. So I could say I'm assigning portable toilets, and I could pick a serial number.
Okay.
Okay.
I only have 2 available, so that's a better example. So if I had, quantity 2, I could always go hit assign serial numbers, and it's going to show me whatever 2 serial numbers are assigned to this rental. And it does show me at the bottom that there's a total of 2, so if you had a lot on here, it would display that as well. I can also click See Rental Item List. It takes me right to my rental inventory and shows me what is on rent for this customer or anything that is available. So if you're entering a new rental and you want to see basically what is available, you could hit See Rental Item List, and it's going to take you to that list and show you anything only for that customer or anything that's not tied to any customer. So you kind of have an idea of what you're allowed to rent out if you have the customer on the phone, for instance. Now, if you're doing barcode entry, there's a button for Use Barcode, which pops up a screen here where this is where I could hit Enter a Rental, and now I would start scanning. If I scanned an item, it's going to find the matching serial number and automatically add it to the kind of lower half of the screen here where the actual individual line items are. Now, if a unit is marked as returned, this is when the invoicing happens. You can invoice on return. Well, I'll do a batch invoice here in a moment, but let's say this item is being returned. The quick and easy way is I can just put in a return date right here. Then I would hit Return All. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to invoice or return these items? Hit yes. Then it's going to ask you, do you want to invoice these items? If I hit yes, it's actually going to send them to a batch screen where I can then post invoices at the end of the day. So for instance, if maybe I'd done 8 or 9 returns, at the end of the day I can go to one screen and invoice that all to QuickBooks. If I hit no here, it lets me invoice them manually by hitting, let's say, Post to QuickBooks at the top of the page. Now, as you see, if I hit Return All, it puts a date returned in for the individual line item. It would have done that all the way down the page. once I hit yes on that prompt to invoice it now, it's no longer on my items rented screen. It's marked as returned. So to find a historical transaction of everything that's ever been rented, you go to Rental Inventory Transactions under Rental Info. Here is everything that I've billed for or rented out. I can open up a transaction just by double-clicking the customer name on that screen to open up that historical entry. Now, where the billing actually goes when you return the item, if you go to Rental Info, Billing, and View Pending, this was in here from before, here you would see that one item that was actually waiting to be billed. Now, this charged a flat rate of $190 because I did not mark it to prorate. Otherwise, this would have been a very large number. It would billing this from 6/28/2011 to 8/8/2013. If that was marked prorate, this would be a much larger number here. From this screen, I could hit Post to QuickBooks. Any of my invoices on here would go as invoices into QuickBooks. I can control the billing date that I want to appear on the top of my QuickBooks invoices by just selecting the billing date at the top and before I hit Post. So maybe I'm backdating this to the 1st, then I can hit Post to QuickBooks. Now, when I run a monthly billing batch, I would go to Billing and run billing. The way our software bills, or basically does batch billing, is it's going to bill every customer that has a piece of item rented whenever you run this billing. So it is designed for basically having all your customers having the same billing date once a month or once every whatever frequency. So let's say
unless we select billing group, correct?
Correct, and that would be the other way you could manage it. I have a lot of our other customers that if the customer rented something out on the 15th of the month, they want that customer to be billed on the 15th of every month. And then if someone rented something out on the 16th, they're billed on the 16th of every month. Well, what they've done is they've created a billing group 1 through 31. Depending on the day of the week, they run billing every day. It's just a different group, and it'll bill all customers in that group. So let's go ahead and select the ending date of my billing cycle. This is important. Everything's going to be billed from its last billing date until this date here. So if you run a 28-day cycle, let's say, just to make numbers easy, you ran billing on the 1st. Last time you were billing was maybe on the 31st of July. Your next billing date would be 28 days later, which may be 8/28, if you run a 28-day cycle. Now, the benefits of billing someone every 28 days is the extra billing cycle at the end of the year, the extra billing period. You get 13 out of your customers instead of 12 if you bill monthly. I have the option to show the location and serial number on the invoice. I have an option to combine customer invoices here as well. So if a customer has multiple rentals for multiple job sites, you can combine those all into one invoice when it goes to QuickBooks. Here's where I would hit Generate Billing. And all this has done is create a pre-billing. We can verify it, run a report, take a look at it, and then we send it to QuickBooks. Now, after we've generated a pre-billing, if you do charge any type of fuel surcharge, we would have had to have that item on the rental transaction itself. We could select, for instance, the fuel surcharge line item that I had on all my rentals. I could then recalculate it based on an amount or percent. So this is one way you could do a percent. let's say, a 10% of the total transaction. And you would hit update, and it's going to search for that fuel surcharge line item in every single rental invoice and make sure that it is 10%, that it's calculated correctly based on the invoice total. I would hit View Pre-Billing, and here I would see a batch screen with everything ready to go to QuickBooks, and it is grouped by customer. It has the dates that I'm billing for. These units that are marked on prorate, if you notice, I'm billing from 7/6 to 8/28 at $84 a month, so it's obviously prorated it accordingly, and my monthly charge is, my total charge is correct on all these. Now I would hit Post to QuickBooks. If I made a mistake or I caught an error, the easiest way to do it before we send anything to QuickBooks is I can just close this screen, and it takes me back to run billing. I can delete a prior billing batch. So I can click that date, delete a billing run, and it rolls everything back before you ran the billing. So now I could go back into items rented, open up that transaction that maybe had an error, and make an adjustment or a correction. I can also print a pre-billing report right after I run a billing batch. Now, some nice features with the rest of the software are the tasks. Let's say, for instance, I have a task for a customer that has something rented. I think this is one here. I have a rentals tab for every task. So I could hit Get Rentals. Anything this customer has on rent is going to be loaded onto the task. This allows us to track any type of repairs, deliveries, or anything tied to this task for these pieces of equipment. So if you're doing any type of servicing, even the delivery task and the pickup task that you can create, when it takes you to this task detail screen, you can go to Rentals, hit Get Rentals, and check which items you want on here. You probably don't want the delivery service fee, so we just don't select that one. Now if I were to close this task out by putting in a resolution, let's say I'm going, this is the option I have once I put in a resolution, I can either invoice it or post it to notes. I'm going to go ahead and hit Post to Notes. And I want to generate an invoice for this. Now all task history is stored inside of the customer. So if I double-click the customer name anywhere in the software, I can go to their Notes tab. This shows me any customer history. Now task history is also stored under miscellaneous, or excuse me, task info, and then completed tasks. And we do have about 10 minutes left or so. Can I open up to any general questions or any questions specifically on what we went over today or rentals in general?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So I saw you had a fuel surcharge and you can calculate percentage. What if we wanted to do a rental protection, an insurance surcharge, but it was only insurance, only a percentage of a charge for the rental equipment itself, not an actual percentage of the entire invoice? Can you do that?
Not through that fuel surcharge. You would have to calculate that percentage manually and just total it on that one line item on the rental transaction.
Okay. But the fuel surcharge calculates the total invoice, a percentage of the
Correct.
total invoice. Okay.
Yep, and that's why it's on that screen. Is because when you generate that rental batch, the totals change on the invoices based on the billing dates. It's prorated or not prorated, so those invoice totals are adjusted. So that's why you can then readjust your fuel surcharge percent.
Can we rename fuel surcharge?
Well, that right there is just how we have it named on that screen. It asks you for a item, so this is any item you set up on the rental transaction to be your quote-unquote fuel surcharge.
Okay.
So if you had on the rental transaction insurance surcharge for whatever it is, that's what's going to be recalculated.
Okay. But it will be of the total invoice, not of just the equipment.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I understand for the rental and for porta potties, on a roll-off scenario where you're renting the container maybe on a daily basis or whatever, but you are charging them when you pull it or haul it, which could be once a week, once a month, or whenever they call. Do you suggest using the task menu to set up that when they call in to get it swapped out? Do you use the task menu, or do you go back to the rental screen?
What I would do is I would do a combination of both. I think managing it from a task has some great benefits.
Okay.
Or excuse me, from the rentals, of being able to track serial numbers or being able to track a lot of what you can on that rental screen. But then every time the customer calls, you go back to items rented, open up that transaction, and then just create another task for whatever you needed, a pickup, exchange, a delivery. So one option we have in here is if you go to miscellaneous info, system, and control table maintenance, if you go to the rentals tab, there is a invoice detail version. So we do have a specific version of that rental screen meant for roll-offs.
Okay.
If I close that and I go back and open up a rental transaction, this is what that rental screen looks like. Allows you to pick a material, serial number. You can have a pickup, whether it's a pickup or a delivery, a time, a driver, a status, a dump location, ticket number.
Okay. And
You also, per piece of equipment to the far right, can create a delivery task just for that piece of equipment, or a pickup task just for that piece of equipment.
exchange and swap. Okay. And then while I see you have the dump location, the weight, if we're charging them a disposal or price based per ton, is there a way that automatically calculates with that figure, or is that something we've got to put in manually?
I believe this is something that it is put in manually.
Okay.
Now you can use the quantity. So if you're charging,
Yeah, that's what I meant. I just didn't know if it would pull from your disposal weight section there.
No, I think this is a separate field just to track if you wanted to make it say,
Okay.
X number of pounds or whatever you're tracking, but you can use the quantity to.
Okay. Can that quantity be decimals, or has it got to be whole numbers?
No, it can be. You can have really. I don't think there's a limit to the number of decimals. Maybe 3 or 4.
Just 2, but we can do 1.25 tons or something on there on a quantity.
Definitely. Yeah. Correct.
Okay. And then, one more quick question, if I'm not hogging the time. How do I put that on a route?
You would use your pickup, delivery, and exchange tasks.
Okay.
As you because the roll-offs are more or less one time,
Right.
once they're on the task list, let's see, do I have a couple tasks assigned to one person? Let's see.
Okay.
Let me put a couple, to show you this one quick report. Let me put a couple on the same day here. And instead of putting it on the route, that way you have a separation between, tasks are for roll-offs, routes are for portable toilets.
Okay.
You can hit print right on the task list. I could say I want to print everything assigned to Bill, my driver, for whatever date that was. I think
11/16. I don't remember the year.
and then I could print a schedule. Oh, it's everything's sub-assigned to Bill.
Just do them all.
There we go.
Okay.
This would be a driver schedule for a day, Wednesday, November 16th.
Okay.
Anyone else have another quick question?
Yeah, Jerry's got one, but he just ran out on a phone call. I'll grab him in a sec.
So we're going to task the roll-off. And then...
If we got a dead time, the item list for the drop down that you said we could customize, you had swap on yours is one of the item lists. How do you get to that to set that up?
Oh, that was the for the frequencies for the routes.
Yeah.
On the route schedule, all you have to do is double-click in the first field labeled frequency.
Okay. And that gives,
And then
okay.
you have a list here that you can set up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
He's
Ben, I
tied
think
up on the.
do you want to
I'll
just get his question and shoot it to me in an email, and I'll reply back to it as soon as I get it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well,
Yeah,
I appreciate you all coming this afternoon.
I'll do that.
Perfect. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send us an email, customer support at westrom, W-E-S-T-R-O-M, software.com. We do have our Q&A class tomorrow, which is an hour class, strictly question and answer, free form. So it's a fun one because we don't have to cover anything. It's just people coming in with their questions. So it's great to meet the other users as well as kind of see how other people are using the program and what other issues or workarounds people are using. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow.
What time was
Thank
that?
you.
2 o'clock
What time?
Eastern tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Okay, great.
Can
Thank
you
you.
send me an email, maybe?
All you have to do is go to, in the software, miscellaneous info,
Okay.
training schedule,
Okay, perfect.
and then it takes you right to the website where you can go down to the Friday afternoon class and just hit
Okay.
register and you sign up for it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.